Welcome to Almost Anything Goes podcast, where we tackle today's hottest topics with a mix of candor, humor, maybe a little bit intellectual rigor, just a little bit. I'm one of your hosts, Sparkle Joy Coach, and today we have a captivating debate lined up just for you. We are delving into the complex and sometimes controversial world of cancel culture. It's a form, free speech, or maybe is it bullying? I'd like you to meet AAGP team, Orvin, our in-house Mr. Jesus representative himself. We have Marseille, our just outspoken, rebellious advocate. And then we have none other than our girl, Stacy, Mannequin Inc. Welcome, everyone. Today, it's all about cancel culture. Yeah, we know it as this buzzword in recent years, dominating headlines, social media feeds. Some argue it is a necessary tool for holding people accountable, while others see it as this dangerous, maybe like mob type of justice. So, in today's episode, we're going to explore both sides of this debate. Is cancel culture a powerful exercise of free speech, or is it simply bullying in a digital age? So let's go ahead and dive in to kick things off. God's favorite. How would you define cancel culture and its impacts?
I'm torn sometime, but I'm going to say cancel culture, in my opinion, I mean, without getting to the little literal definition of it, is people publicly exercising vocally or through social media or something like that, counseling somebody that did something that they thought was morally wrong, getting rid of somebody who they thought had a social interaction, something that they didn't agree with. There's something like, for example, oh my gosh, this famous person cheated on their wife, so we're going to counsel them. We're getting rid of them because we're just not going to accept that, and we're not going to put up with that, even though they have worse things in their lives. Anyway, I'm not being judgmental. Publicly scrutinizing, sometimes publicly getting on people and getting rid of them for the things that they said that were socially incorrect or morally incorrect. And so far, the impacts that I think that it has, I think it can be positive. I think it can be negative. But the way that you explained it in the beginning, I might have to go with that. It's more of a bullying aspect, only because I think people take really bad advantage of the fact that they can be what we call keyboard gangsters, or they can hide behind a computer or behind telephones, social media, things of that nature. We couldn't do that. This digital age where it couldn't be done in the past, they're able to just jump out there and say what they want to say, and thinking that they're not going to get a response or without any repercussions or less of a repercussions, or they just think it's the norm and it's the thing to do. So they just like, oh, I'm going to get rid of them because I don't like what they said and it offended me personally, and I'm going to be vocal about it, which is them having free speech, but it's a bullying aspect. So I'm going to ride with that. It's a bullying thing to me.
Oh, that's good. I like that. So we already got the little divide in the house where we got the little bullying more so from God's favorite and from our resident activist. What's your take?
I do believe that it is freedom of speech. And I do see the other side where it can definitely be taken as bullying. However, people don't know what they don't know. So you got to expose some things so that people then do know. I think about, especially when it comes to like children's safety and things like that. I think about people like R. Kelly and Diddy. Like, yeah, they need to know. People need to know what's going on with all that. I don't think it, I think at that point, when it's up to you if you want to continue to support them or not. But truly believe that cancel culture is more of getting the information to people that they might not have just known on their own.
I like that. So she's coming from definitely the viewpoint that it's a better to know what people are doing in just in case if they're doing one thing, saying another. Oh, I like that. I like that. What about you,
You know,
Stacy?
name dropping.
Yeah,
It's name dropping.
absolutely name dropping. And I could keep on going.
And is that because you believe people should know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about your thoughts, Stacy? Where you coming from?
Here's where I'm coming from. So I, full transparency, I went back and forth with this topic like over and over again. So I literally had to drill it down to the definition for me to feel like take my feelings out of it when I read the definition of freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech, more so, you have the right to exercise your opinions without fear of consequences or censorship or assault or things of that nature. So I will say that that's what really was the turning point for me of it's not quite falling for me on the freedom of speech. I do see both sides of it. I do see there's a necessity for freedom of speech. Yes. Cancel culture, similar to anything or any process that we have, when man puts it to use in the wrong fashion, it could be perceived as bullying. I'm leaning towards a bully factor here, but I do see where it will be necessary. The benefits of cancel culture is definitely giving the disenfranchised an opportunity to defend themselves, express themselves against free speech. But it can be misconstrued. It can be used as a bully factor. So I am with, would you say, Jesus's favorite child? I am on the side of it's
I don't know why she saying like she questioned if you Jesus is favorite.
I do not for I know for a fact. There's no question.
She questioned that. She said it like,
I just couldn't get the name correct. That's what
I love it. I think that was a very good point. And I also loved how you said when man gets involved, how that in since we're talking about so many different people, so many different thoughts. So with all of that being said, what are your thoughts on you sometimes you see it. Sometimes you see cancel culture with comedians. Should we be thinking that, oh, if you're a comedian, maybe it's not cancel culture? Or if it was a star that happened to tell their truth and we just may not agree with their truth, is there a stake? What are your thoughts about different artistry? Is there a difference?
I personally don't know if there's a difference because when I think of bullying, I think of like when we think of cyberbullying or something like that, we think of the imbalance of power. And usually when it's cancel culture, it is someone who has like top tier power dynamic, which is why, again, like the cancel culture, we want to bring awareness to it because it's just like that person can sweep all of this under the rug at any moment with money if they really wanted to. That's the reality. So I don't think that it is stopped or any different between musicians, actors, TV personalities, anything like that. I think it should also just be the same. Yeah.
That's interesting because I'm going to say, I wonder, I hear what you're saying. You're saying that the truth you're saying should come out. You're also saying that those that have power, there's a imbalance with the power dynamic. But what about when other people are trying to share their truth? So if we're talking about comedians, comedians trying to share their jokes as true, but their truth is being bullied by people who are like, how dare you say your truth? Orvin, what would you say to that?
When you reach a certain level, I'm agree with her, and I'm gonna take it from a little bit of a different angle. When it's a professional, in the sense of somebody that has the viewership or what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody that is seen in the public eye a lot, whether it be a comedian or whether it be somebody famous or a politician. I think they have a certain level of responsibility to control what they say. So just because you have the avenue doesn't mean that this is the opportunity for you to make the comment. And coming from a standpoint like you asked with comedians, because I love comedy, someone just because you think it's funny doesn't mean that the room's going to think it's funny. It's up to you as a comedian, knowing that the generation that we're in, the time that we're in, the culture that we're in, is this is safe enough to come out of your mouth. You're you're able to receive the repercussions and the consequences, and you can be counseled. Do I think it's right? I believe people should be able to say certain things, but you should be mindful that you may offend somebody. And that's only just to be careful and caring of other people's feelings. You should be mindful of that because you don't know who you're going to offend. But I don't think everything that you say has to be guarded, if that makes sense. Like you don't have to like, oh, I can't say anything and then you get upset about it. You should be able to say something knowing that this is your profession and people should get a little understanding. At the same time, watch who you're saying it to in the room that you're in. Know your audience. That's all I'm saying. You gotta know your audience. I'm not gonna come up here on the podcast and know the four people I'm talking to start yap, curse, and I know there's not this avenue for it because this not where I am right now. I'm not at the bar with the guys watching the game. I'm on the podcast, AAG, talking about something else. Not the time for that. So know your arena and know that you're possibly gonna get counted.
And thank you for sharing that. I got one for you, Stacy.
Okay.
Tell me what you think about, is there a way to implement cancel culture more constructively?
Good question. Let me think. Is there a way? I don't know if there's a systematic process way, but similar to, I'm going to touch on individuals with large platforms, celebrities. I think they should, I know it's not part of what they signed up to do, but once you become this individual with this large outreach to people, I think you should use it constructively. So I do think that we should employ our celebrities to kind of show and demonstrate the right way to do things with cancel culture. I don't think you should be on quote on TV with rounding things up or a riot or anything of that nature. I do think you should just be cognizant of, hey, I have this platform, I have this ability to influence people. So let me start by using it wisely. So I think celebrities, large platforms, anyone with an audience can take ownership and help with controlling the crowd, I want to say. So it's not always great to be a gangster. It's sometimes, okay, I totally disagree with this individual. Let me just sit down and let's do a debate. But a recent debate that we saw with in Congress, that was not a great show of I have this large platform and this is how I'm going to work out my differences. So just an example, just use your platform wisely could be a way that we can continue to support cancel culture or call out culture, because they say call out culture is a more positive spin on it to do that. And cancel culture has been around for a while. It used to be called boycotting. So you can administer that very constructively with the right leadership in place. So I, I think that's one of the channels that we could use to.
No, thank you for sharing that and highlighting. Interesting. I wonder how those celebrities would feel out there if they had a NDA or some type of clause that said they need to promote their platform better, or if there was stricter guidelines for that. Now, Marseille, our rebel, our advocate, what do you think about, should there be a different way of implementing cancel culture more constructively?
I definitely think so. But the question then becomes, is it true to what we want as is this something that can actually be implemented is the real question. Because I feel like if we did start implementing more restraints and guidelines on it, social media, most people would not be on social media because again, like that's taking away a level of freedom of speech if we start regulating it and controlling it. I I think anyone with a platform, anyone who, especially I think if you want a platform, if you want to be a celebrity, if you want to be someone in the spotlight, there's a reason you're in the spotlight. And what is the reason? What are you trying to do with your fame and your power and all of these things? Are you trying to lift people up or are you trying to bring people down? Because there are definitely two sides to why people choose to be in the spotlight. And yeah, I don't, there's so many thoughts
I
around
don't know. It's tough to land like firmly on.
Yeah.
It's, you have one person that could take it to the extreme and then one person that can really understand and implement it correctly. So it's just like trying to control the masses, but somewhat taking a little bit of freedom. Like,
And then they'll get canceled.
If we think about what the US is founded on and things like that, thinking about the, oh gosh, what is it called? The Constitution, all of those things, it's just where does all of this fall in to what our country was founded on?
That's a lot of good stuff to think about. And one of the things that, as I'm hearing you all discuss, is interesting enough control. And where does that control land or lie? It sounds like this is also something that we'll be debating for years to come. One more question. How can the everyday person avoid getting caught up in cancel culture?
Like a random person on the street being canceled or
Yeah, maybe it's a person on your job that said something unpopular, like a random, not necessarily someone that we would find on TV every day, or maybe it's a rising upcoming podcaster or someone who started their business. So that in that terms of everyday person, how can they make sure that they don't get caught up?
I think trying to understand, first of all, not jump into conclusions, not thinking you understand that this person was meaning to do harm or offend, like attempting, just make the attempt to understand and figure out what the person's intentions are. Because sometimes we could jump the gun and it's not really what the person intended. And I think just that step foretells some of the negative components of cancel culture in your everyday life. Yeah.
Okay.
And me being God's favorite, I'm going to say on the side of, I'm sorry, I had made myself laugh because I really am. On the side of the person that is doing the canceling out, give the person some grace and give them some understanding that there's a possibility that they just didn't know, or they didn't know that they were operating in wrong thinking or wrongdoing at the moment. It's a possibility. Then there's also that side that they may have been, but give them some grace in that situation. And in this age of outspoken opinionism, I guess that's the word that we live in, where people just think they can say everything that they want to say. We have to just do our best practicing being better people, human beings, being better professionals, and just being better in general, and watching our mouth. Just because you think it don't mean you ought to say it. You gotta be careful with your tongue. Your tongue will get you in trouble in a whole lot of situations. On that side of things, practice being a better human being in general. And I think the cancel culture probably will fade off a little bit. It popped this ugly head, and it could fade off just as easily depending on humanity and the culture itself. But that's my opinion.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Let's end with you, Marseille. Should the everyday person, Miss Rebellious Advocate, should the everyday person even care about cancel culture?
I don't think they should. And why I say that, especially because I work with youth all of the time, it's not, I don't believe that cancel culture, once you get under again, that pyramid, once you get under a certain level, it's no longer cancel culture. It is the sense of, I just don't know how to communicate to you that I don't like what you said. Well, I don't know how to hold a conversation with you that what you said made me uncomfortable or anything like that, especially with students. Like I work with middle schoolers specifically. There's always beef. There's always drama. There's always someone saying, oh, we don't talk to her anymore because she said X, Y, and Z or did this thing. But a lot of times, like both of you, Orvin and Stacey, have said, is just that people don't always look at the other side of the issue. They're always thinking about like themselves and thinking about, oh, I wouldn't do it this way, but not knowing how people are raised, their upbringing, what they've been through. And again, that's why when I think of cancel culture, I do think that it should happen because again, if you made it all the way up there in ranking regarding like popularity and influence, you should know better. But when I think more of the common person, I think of someone who is truly still learning how to accept others, still learning how to befriend others and things like that.
Thank you for sharing that. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure that I give Stacey and Orvin, if you all want to say any last words. And definitely well said, Marseille, because I love how you're being very careful when it comes to what you're defining as that cancel culture. And for you, it sounds like we're really talking about is the power dynamics separate? It's about power dynamics because then we move into a whole entirely different type of situation. And it shouldn't go beyond cancel culture to criminal culture.
Yes.
Without doing a lot of name dropping, certain people deserve to be canceled. You did it, you receive your punishment. The consequences of everything that we do. That's the truth. I'm not into bullying anybody, so I'm also into giving people grace. But if you did it, you got to pay the piper. You got to fess up and accept that this is the possibility, the outcome of what I did. Not what I said, but what I did. So the people, when they do stuff, your actions speak louder than your words. I think certain people do deserve to be counseled, but I do think there are others that we've knocked out of the box, that should be given a little bit more grace and forgiveness. But that was my final statement.
Can I even add on to that?
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I think I see the church finger. We're gonna have to have a podcast on What's the church finger? Who just saw the church finger?
What Orvin just said made absolute sense. And I just think when I think of cancel culture, I think of a lot of times the people we're canceling should be serving and have a lot more consequences to their actions. So that's why I'm like, yeah, cancel culture. Like some of these people should be in jail, truly. So I absolutely agree with what Orvin said.
And I would second that. I just want to throw in that definitely because we were on the side of bullying doesn't mean that we don't support free speech because I believe that definitely we should have freedom of speech. It does, like Mercedes said, it does show us who you really are. And with anything, you do have a responsibility. So I have freedom of speech. It doesn't mean I can recklessly say things, cause harm to other people. And I think that's where we all have to remember that we are not engaging in that behavior when we exercise our rights. And for cancel culture, I do still say that, again, in the wrong hands, like anything, it can be used incorrectly. And there are benefits to cancel culture. Let's not forget about, like Orban said, there are some people that we found out information based off of freedom of speech that should definitely be canceled as well. And some we did not apply that grace when we should have.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This has been a thought provoking discussion on the nuances of cancel culture. We hope our listeners gain new insights and perspectives on this complex issue. We would love to hear your thoughts. Follow us on social media. Make sure that you share your opinions using the hashtag AAG podcast and join the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review. We thank you all for tuning in today. Until next time, this is your Sparkle Joy coach reminding you to keep the conversation going because here on Almost Anything Goes podcast, practically no topics off limit. Blessings to you all.